I wanted to just cold start with my Tumblr blog got deleted for like 24 hours, and I still don't know why.
Tumblr crimes? Did you do a bad ship?
Maybe I did a bad ship. I
What are the spicy ships these days? I don't keep up. Like, I remember back in, like, Sure Hulock days or whatever it was called. Super Hulock, that was it.
Yeah.
There were some spicy ones, but I'm 45,000 years old now, so who knows?
Right. Uh, the thing I've been blogging about a lot recently is Deltarune, and I guess there's like there's a bunch of different opinions people have about the ships between those little monster kiddos. But like,
I haven't caught up with Deltarune. I remember the large one, the big lizard one,
yes,
whatever she is.
She's
I
like,
assume everyone wants her to bite them in half.
yes, everyone wants her to bite her, but everyone wants Susie Deltarune to bite them, and she is very big, and that tracks.
That's such a cheat code. Every time I'm describing a character on this show, I'm like, yeah, they are masters of magic, and they have all this experience, and they've done all these things. Everyone's rolling their eyes, making a dismissive wanking gesture, and then I'm like, and she's big, and then everyone just starts hooting and hollering and fist punching, throwing their computers out the window.
Apparently, this is not a spoiler, but so I could say, apparently Toby Fox had like was tweeting about like really old like notes he had about Deltarune, and one of them that like hasn't shown up in the game yet, but he's happy everyone just kind of picked up on instinctively is Susie puts her head on your puts her chin on your head because she is taller than Chris.
Yeah, I've pulled that move a number of times. It's very effective. I'm Austin Yorsky. I think most people know that. Do people know who you are? You've popped up. We're talking to you because you've popped up. But just in case you wanted an opportunity to introduce yourself and any plugs, this is a great segue to do that.
Yeah, I'm Cosmignon. I've been on the show a couple of times now. I was in the middle of season 9. I was a major character in season 11, and then this season I've been a terrible creature, interrupting things, stealing shit.
We're going to be discussing that a lot. Yeah, originally you and me and Skitch and maybe a third person, and we're going to have increasingly chaotic Cymbeline recordings where there's more and more and more of them, and they make everything worse and worse and worse. But there was a scheduling conflict, and so I thought, we will postpone that. I still want to do it, but I want to talk to you about your season 9 character and also the last arc that just happened, because you are Gladys Dicefunk.
I am Gladys Dicefunk. Gladys Antimony Dicefunk.
Oh yeah, I forgot you did have you're a rare canon last name character.
Yeah.
Which is quite a luxury in this economy. But I'm going to ask you about that. We'll say this first question sponsored by a burnt grill plate from a Korean BBQ. Totally not anonymous. Faith and Valor. Team Plain touched its hole once more. Let's go. Eardrum Espresso and Elfrona, a.k.a. Alex Jonas, the thieving squirrel, a.k.a. Wow, there's just a lot of names to read, is there not, Sarah?
Yeah.
If someone didn't listen to season 9, who is Gladys? And also, perhaps more importantly, why is Gladys?
Right. So, season 9, I played a kobold alchemist named Gladys, and I think alchemist is a subclass of the artificer, which I think only recently became official. I think it was like Unearthed Arcana for a while.
Yeah, I think that's coming out maybe in an Eberron book or something. I don't even actually know if you can go to Barnes & Noble and pick up the 2024 5th edition. This game is stupid. Never mind. I shouldn't have brought it up.
But yeah, I starred as Gladys Antimony in season 9 because there was basically like a break-off branch of season 9 that like Austin arranged between me, Skitch, who's been on the show a long time, and Dan, who I think got started in the one-shots before showing up in season 9. And a funny anecdote about Gladys's last name actually is I originally planned to have it like be like, I forget what something to do with silver, because I wanted her to fit in with the gold dragonborn and the copper dragonborn as like the silver substitute. But then I think there's like some dragonborn that has a similar silver name in season 4. So I was like, okay, antimony. That's like also an element. You can find the symbol for it in like alchemy and stuff. That's cool.
That's deep lore. Yeah, there were two wrestlers in season 4 whose ring names are Arjum and Orum, which is silver and gold. So that
Yeah.
must have been what that was. Wild. I did look this up, and the Eberron Forge of the Artificer releases on August 19th, 2025. So you played an old version. You're going to have to pay
Okay, yeah.
Wizards of the Coast $39.99 if you would like to see the new shit.
Yeah.
Gladys was a kobold, which is a reptilian humanoid, most notable for its fragility. Like there are a number of reptilian humanoids: dragonborn, which are player characters; lizard folk, which are like rapacious creatures that like to eat things; and there's kobolds, which are they're the Goombas of Dungeons and
Yeah.
Dragons.
They're the Goombas, they're the Koopa Troopas. I remember when Austin put basically dragon themed miniseries on the table. Like it was like, okay, you can all like be dragonborn, and that's what Skitch and Dan took. And I was like, I like kobolds better though. I want to be one of those.
Tiny, fragile, so scared, and you won everything. You did a huge victory. I actually went back and listened to some of that season 9 stuff before we started doing Gladys Accord stuff. But if there anything you think the audience should know, because you don't have to listen to that earlier season, but
Oh yeah, so like one of the like the main mission of the Dragon Quest miniseries is that Gladys, Throg, and Treyan, the three main characters, were sent on a mission by the dragons of the old world to like go up into the new world and see if they couldn't find like a place where dragons could start rebuilding their society. And the conclusion of that is we did find the Cookie Mountains, not named that yet, but it was the dragon biome. And one of my things was that like since Gladys is like a nerd, like I wanted her to be studying some way to make the world better for everyone else, and the conclusion that I came to and worked on for the rest of the season was, well, there's all these like ancient extremely powerful artifacts that like the dead gods left behind. What if we gave the power to the people and duplicated them? And that's why there is the option in season 12 to duplicate items, even though that has not been used so far.
yeah, the audience will, if you're listening in order, will have just heard the big reveal that the Cymbelines stole Gladys's loom, which is why I wanted to record this with you right now, because it's the ideal time. Let's say sponsored by Sarah Alistair, Octopus, Simon Lee, Conduit of Chungus, Bear of Dinkus, Minion of John Con, Zagul, Mr. Pear, Copperhead, Professional GM, and Start Playing Doc Games, and Spaghetti-O Moment. How did you feel about the Gladys's legacy, reputation, your creation, and the way it rolled into season 12? Because you handed me such a juicy moral dilemma about duplicating items, and everyone just the absolute most dice funk way this could have gone is just a parade of bastardry.
Yeah, I'm honestly super amused by how things have rolled out so far. I think that since this happens so far into the future and it's like Gladys's legacy instead of something that she would ever live to see happen, like I'm like honestly happy to see like anything mention her. Like I point like that SpongeBob meme, like there I am, Gary, there I am.
Yeah, I mean, it could have just been an offhand mention. Like there once was a blue-tongued skink lizard, a person named Gladys. Isn't that funny? But no, it's like the whole point of the season is them enforcing the laws that basically sprung up around what you did. Do you remember describing like the loom? Because I think this was literally in like the epilogue.
Yeah, I remember. I remember describing it. I have the entire transcript that I meticulously wrote down in the hopes that one day I will, in fact, make a comic adaptation of that miniseries. So I have the description on hand. it'll probably take me a minute to pull it up, but I remember it was like one of those like kaleidoscopic like metal ball toy things mixed with like a like basically like a printing machine.
Yeah, I remember because I went back and listened to it. It used to something like a room-sized laboratory thing, and it was like there was enough room there where I could have done something with it. Be like, oh, over the years, Gladys improved the design or whatever. But we haven't really needed to workshop any of that because they've never used it, as you alluded
Yeah.
to. I've given them the option, and now the Cymbelines have stolen it. None of this was inevitable. They could have copied every item they come along. And I literally came up with the Cymbeline heist like between episodes because I challenged them to a prank off, and I thought that would be the funniest prank. But it could have been something. I will say the loom did exist for years, so there still are copied items out there. It's not like this plot point's going away. And also the Cymbeline, who the fuck knows what's up to it? We're gonna get to the Cymbeline in a gosh dang second.
Yeah.
But yeah, have you mentioned on this one about you said you have a whole meticulously typed out transcript. I don't know if you've plugged any of that kind of work. I'll put all the links in the description, obviously. But you're doing comics, you're doing
Yeah.
drawings.
So basically, ever since we wrapped up recording on like the Dragon Quest, I have had it in my head that I would like to be able to make it into a comic because I think that like the most difficult thing about recommending like basically my debut into the Dice Funk sphere is like, yeah, it's like in the middle of season 9. Yeah, you have to like listen through like characters that aren't mine, like for like 20 episodes until I show up, and also like it's like split into two chunks. So like I have a read I have I have a recommended listening order for you if you just want to listen to the part I'm in, and I think it would be a lot easier in the future to eventually be like, here's a comic about a D&D campaign I played, and if you want to hear more, there's this cool podcast called Dice Funk, and I'm in it more.
That will be a lot easier. That's kind of why we've been tooling around with the format behind the scenes, talking about season 13. Originally, we were thinking about doing something where they're more intertwined, then decided perhaps to do just the main pumpkin spooky campaign that's much anticipated on the main feed, and then do the other campaign on like a bonus feed or something else, because yeah, it's already a very daunting and idiosyncratic medium, the actual play type tabletop podcast, right? That's like a niche
Yeah.
within a niche within a niche, and then you're like, okay, but listen, you gotta follow like separate subplots that are running simultaneously, except for when they're flashbacks, and then this but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a whole
So
fucking mess. I'm sorry.
I have my transcript pulled up. I don't know how to like control. I don't know what to control F to find like the description of like the loom itself, but I can tell you that there were 10 relevant episodes of Dragon Quest, one of them being like interspersed in between the finale of the main story. And then I'm gonna like see if I can find the word count here because I had to like take multiple days of just like not doing anything aside from sitting down and listening to the original episodes and typing everything out.
I'm probably one of the people in the world who can sympathize most because I'm on the episode, so I hear it that time, and then I edit the episode and I hear it a second time, and then I have to make like a last time on Dice Funk, so I have to listen to it a third time often. So few people have been as immersed in our truly stupid words as you and I.
But yeah, while I try to figure that out, the important thing is that I've posted like thumbnails of like trying to get this comic started, like in pre-production on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Cosmignon, and Cosmignon is COSMIGNON. And so far, I've thumbnailed a little over half of the fight scenes. And I started with the fight scenes because I've never done action in a comic before. I do have a currently running comic that's more of like a fun, like low stakes-ish fantasy adventure called Runaway Dracaina, also involving dragons. My life has been dragons for a couple of years now, but Dragon Quest is still like thumbnail stage. And if you would like to support me, that would be like financial stability would be a great incentive to keep working on it because I've had to kind of push it to the wayside in the past like couple of months to like work on stuff like commissions, getting my store, my online store like settled like with like new stuff on it. I did a Kickstarter this year for cryptid keychains. I'm going to a convention like this weekend. If this comes out in July still, it's gonna be like the 18th to the 20th.
Uh-huh. Yeah, this should be out pretty soon. I'll put all these relevant links in the description of the episode, which everyone should be checking, because sometimes there's fun jokes in there, but I'll just put
Yeah.
that in there so you can all click around. Let's say next question, sponsored by Jewman Jack, Cindy Marzing, Poston Korsky, The Psychic Woofer, Miles and Danny Love Dice Funk Forever, Concept, The Dawn of Dungeons, and The Dead Speak. Somehow, Caroline returned. That's fun. So you don't have any regrets about Gladys's journey, I assume. You won. You conquered the whole thing. You got the best ending, the true ending. How do you personally feel, like if you were a character who's not chaos incarnate like Cymbeline, about the Gladys Accords going forward? Because they never duplicated any items. Do you would you have done that, or you think they're making a good choice right now because they don't have any healing resources? They threw the healing thing off the side of the world. They ditched most of Desdemona's stuff. How are you thinking about that?
I feel like if conceptualizing myself as if I were a player character, if I was like one of the actual like main dragons of this season, I probably would have considered duplicating a couple of the items. I think that the outright like rejection of doing that for any of the items is like something I maybe would have argued against just because like there does like even considering like, oh well, if everyone has a healing item, then like fights will be way harder because they have like infinitely healing guys. I'm like, but like also like consider like the benefits for everyone else. One of the interesting things is that when Gladys made the loom and when I was making the loom, therefore, I had it in my mind that the duplicated items would go out to small folk. And in this season, it seems that like over the years, like it's more that the dragons have decided, okay, we're going to use this loom to duplicate items and hand them out to other dragons because we are the best and we deserve all the items.
That, I mean, that's a core kind of focus of the conflict this season is the relationship between dragons and small folk and their relationships with the items. And I was trying to leave the door open for the party to go any which way they wanted. It turns out they're essentially pro Gladys Accords, pro small folk, but that it didn't need to be like that. You know, they could have gone any other number of ways. But now I think as of this last episode, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, like their main antagonists at this point are Desdemona and the Cymbelines. So I think that's pretty funny because Desdemona would love many magic items, and the Cymbelines can duplicate many items. So we're it's time to get really fucked up. I think.
I think the funniest thing so far with like the important decisions with the items that have been made so far is when like DiCaprio like realizes that like when her mom comes back she will get like her rights back to the items that aren't super dangerous. She's just like, oh yeah, these all suck, let's go throw them off a cliff.
Quinn is playing a very petty character, which is very fun. I think
Yeah.
Quinn often is a very nervous, thoughtful person who's trying to make sure no one's mad at her. So it's like all the limiters being removed. It's just beast mode time. But yeah, next question, sponsored by Lime. CA Little, Christman renaming the Bussy Bandits to the Yacht Gang, Squishy Fishy, Marine Science Guy, and Brent. Still every episode of Dice Funk Goatly. The Cymbelines. You first appeared at the end of the Andronicus arc as a random Cymbeline for a brief scene, and you made, I think, a pretty impactful choice there. First of all, any preconceptions, any preconceived notions going in, or were you just like, head empty, small?
So if I had any preconceived notions, is that like I came in with my own personal interpretation of how the Cymbelines think and act, which is that the way that they steal things and like take things is not intentionally malicious and more just like, well, yeah, it's my stuff. Like I of course I think on multiple occasions during the recording say, "Oh, let's go steal some shit. Let's take some stuff." But like if I were like a little less head empty during those recordings, maybe I would like phrase it more like just, "Oh, let's get my stuff. Like I know that it's over here in this layer."
Oh yeah, that's interesting because yeah, the only characterization I really gave them, they're not like viewpoint characters that we have deep conversations with necessarily. It's just like everything is mine, everywhere is mine. I don't see what everyone's mad about. It was like basically all I gave
Yeah.
you. So I was intentionally trying to let you play in the space and build the character because I think it's actually more interesting for these curveballs to be thrown at us than for me to just decide by GM fiat. Just be like, I mean, I like the characters I make, but it's a different kind of a spin on the ball with the Cymbelines. Do you remember the first thing you like gave me there in that I have made critical to their whole thing?
Uh Gosh, I remember. I think I still have my notes that I was taking. Yeah, here we go. It's in my fucking computer drawer. Let's see.
One of the only people who ever take notes in the history of Dice Folk.
I took nostalgia from Sycorax because Sycorax at that point in like the episode recording lineup hadn't really had we hadn't really talked to her much. I don't think we'd even like had the scene with her and Hop at like her lair, like with the like mommy trauma bonding thing going on yet. So I really
Yeah.
wanted to know more about her, and so I took some nostalgia, and then I found out that she was, I guess. We know now that it was specifically the loom, like Gladys loom, she was using to make Sorrow Sworn. So that's that's what
A
we
lot
have
of
now.
a lot of mommy trauma or fuck a lot of mommy trauma, traumy mommy. I don't even. I was trying to make a funny way for that to sound, as I often do in this show. A lot of
Uh-huh.
mommy trauma on this episode, on this season. That's like a core theme, I guess. But yeah, I don't know why I phrased it as like a gotcha question to see if you had the notes. But the nostalgia was the thing. This is not something that like I had planned. This wasn't like, oh, season 11 was about modernization. I don't know, the Pope, Catholicism. Season 12 is
Season
about
season 11 was about asking riddles so hard you kill someone.
yeah. Season 11 was about riddles. Season 12 was about nostalgia. You fell right into my trap. You just handed me that, and I'm curious where that came from because it is now a core part of them. Their kind of thing is that they're nostalgic for the old Fey culture of like strange mercurial pranks and cruelty, like of the unseelie court.
Like, I think what was going through my head is that I was, like, since Sycorax collects, like, feelings, I was like, what's a really specific and interesting feeling that gets explored a lot that I could, like, draw from? And so I went with nostalgia because I think I find a lot of media that I consume is very interested in the concept of nostalgia. Like I based my Cymbelines colors off of like the poppy like DreamWorks troll like toy I have on my desk, and that's a movie that's very like tied into nostalgia because it's like a reboot of like an old toy franchise. And there's like analog horror stuff that I'm really interested in, like Welcome Home, that's also like tied up in like the feeling of nostalgia, both being something that's comforting and also very concerning. So I think it's because of that predisposition to be interested in that. That's why I pulled into that specific realm.
Yeah, maybe this is tipping my hand too much, but I think nostalgia in our day to day is most relevant as a important element of fascism for this
Mm-hmm.
imagined like perfect past that we must return to. So I was eager to fold that in. I think it's going to dovetail nicely with the themes of obsession and greed and just the things
Yeah.
that dragons are like symbolic of in like medieval literature that also are just coming up naturally, just like the coin and shit.
The coin. Like nostalgia like tied into like fascism is interesting because like discussions that I like have with like my partner and stuff and like other people recently have just been a lot of like yeah, like people when they're like it was better in the past. It's because you were a child. It's
Mm-hmm.
because you were young and you didn't have to worry about a lot of stuff, typically speaking.
Sure. I just feel like if I say to someone like nostalgia is a fascist ideology, or like just nostalgia is a mental illness, which it was considered
Mhm.
classically, people are like, "Shut up! I just like old cartoons. Don't be a bitch."
Yeah,
like
also nostalgia as like tied into that is just everybody stop saying this is what they took from us because that's like a fascist dog whistle, please, I'm begging you.
yeah, who is they there? But yeah, I think that was the first thing in that Andronicus finale, which I think the way that worked out was that the fight against the Tarask ran long, and then I ended up breaking that episode in half. But then it wasn't
Mhm.
long. The second half wasn't quite long enough, so I was just like, "What are the Cymbelines up to?" And I was just hoping that you would give me something, which you did, that I could run with. And now, like, the Cymbelines are not only silly little pranksters, they are kind of consumed with this idea of old things. They were driving around a muscle car in the next scene,
Mhm.
which we're going to get to in just a second. I will say sponsored by, well, a werewolf just got laid off. Fun times lie ahead. Lumentis. Chikowiaradna, it's I believe a Polish name, Ghost Almost, Vermilion Dragon, and Am Chub Chub. Please give Belly a rub rub. I'm gonna get Sketch on someday to talk more Cymbeline stuff. But did you two have any plans coming in, or was that just your natural chemistry as you decided to be complete nightmares?
I think we talked like a little bit before recording because I think I caught Skitch up on like the basics of what was going on. Like, okay, the like Cymbalines, you don't need to think too hard about it. You don't need to like make like a like we're level one impish little idiots. Like you can just do whatever. And like aside from that, I think we were just kind of on the same wavelength. I felt like that was a really fun recording. I had a lot of fun just going crazy because that's something I haven't really gotten the chance to do with like my more major characters on Dice Funk. Like Gladys was my first time like on the show, so I was really nervous, so she was really nervous, and then Lillian, I was so caught up in like giving a good character like over the course of the season that like I didn't let loose very often. So this was just like a fun divergence from all of that. I think that my Cymbeline is a terror and I love her dearly.
There are basically no stakes. If you both had died, you could have come back the next time we did a Cymbeline recording and just been different Cymbalines. There's no,
Yeah.
there's truly no rules, just right there, which really worked. I didn't come in with a plan. My memory is I just said like, who do you rob? Who do you rob? Who do you rob? And we did 3 scenes.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I have like written down somewhere is that I know what my Cymbeline's true name is, but that's like if that comes up, it comes up. Oh, sorry, bumped my mic. If that comes up, it does. If it doesn't, who cares?
Yeah, I have no plans for that, but I'm also open to anything. I never know where any of it's going. But yeah, the way that episode ended up kind of ending is with you giving a true name to Lady Falconbridge's small folk, which is how she got it. I knew that she and Viola got true names off screen. That was just like a thing that Quinn set into motion. So it didn't need to be explained. I just thought it like that just kind of came to me as like, here's a, connecting tissue to why we're doing this. It was also recorded out of order with the Cymbeline arc. So if that had
Mm-hmm.
gone a different way, it still would have worked. It only seems like in retrospect, oh, we needed to do that to explain how the Orb of Dragonkind got there.
I actually have a question for you about that.
Reverso.
Was the was the Orb of Dragonkind already planned, or did that become part of the arc after? Because I was curious if you had like a different explanation for why you can't become a dragon in the Feywild if the Orb of Dragonkind hadn't been there.
I knew I always wanted to have an Orb of Dragonkind in the season because it's like an iconic dragon themed item from D&D. I think if we hadn't recorded that episode, it probably would have still been an Orb of Dragonkind there doing that effect. It just would have been like, oh, they stole it from someone at some point, and like I just maybe
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't have been elaborated on because the Cymbelines can basically have any item at any time. They can just
Yeah.
steal it off screen. They're kind of they're both extremely weak and sneakily powerful, because they could be
Yeah.
anywhere with anything, even though they are each like 10 hit point squishies. But yeah, that was a thing where I was just seeing where it was going. I think we actually had to run near the end of that recording, so it was like we could have done another heist or another scene or something, and you were just like, I'm actually out of time. So I was like, yeah, and then the small folk approach your broken down car.
Yeah. I am excited for whenever we do a third recording because I have ideas for like more heists.
I'm glad you do. I don't know if you want to give too much away. I'll just say sponsored by Julius funneling money to Florida. The space fighters say to execute the bonus season experiment, as previously discussed. Address Day Conduit of Dice Funk playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition Turing. This just looks like someone just put a bunch of random characters in by smashing on the keyboard. They wrote that out. Eric Ogren completely missed the Patreon tier update, and Nicole is turning gender change into gender cash. Incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah. Are you constantly brainstorming like things the Cymbelines could steal? Do you have like storylines in mind? You don't have to give too much away if you don't want to, but I always want more ideas, especially to vex the players, to undermine Dan or whatever. Are you cooking up some heat? So if we can corner Skitch again, we can get it onto the MP3.
I think I'm not like sitting down and planning it super specifically, though I might want to, like since we have a little more time before the next whenever we can record, because I like that whatever we steal kind of like curveballs into bothering the main players. I think that's really funny. I think that I wasn't quite looking for things in that context in the first two recordings, even though I kind of had an idea that that's how it worked in the second recording, because like it through on-air workshopping like the stupid like 1111 glasses and like the Stussy S like had effects on like the like big Cymbeline prank war, but like I would like to do that intentionally.
Sure. I could always just say like, oh, the next time you encounter a Cymbeline, it has Excalibur. It kills you like that. Like, there's nothing preventing me, but it's less fun than if you were like, oh, I need a toothpick. Let's go get Excalibur. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's funny as opposed to just like me being a dick for no reason. So I kind of ideally want you to stalk their armory because it's almost like plausible deniability for me. I can just throw up my hands and say, listen, I wanted them to be pathetic, but Sara and Skitch gave them rocket launchers.
I will say, if I can do one little tease, I think going into the next recording, my Cymbeline might want something that makes them feel a little more regal, a little more
Yeah.
perhaps higher status, like to kind of get ready for the oncoming whatever it is. Like that all the Cymbelines are kind of like planning with each other. So look forward to that. I'm going to bother the fuck out of Dan.
Hell yeah. I like it though because it is clearly having an effect on them. Dan was trying to figure out how to get around the cool S.
Mm-hmm.
Which is going to be a whole thing. So I wanted the Cymbelines to be like fun antagonists as opposed to Desdemona, who is more of just like a hateable one. If you understand the distinction, it's like Desdemona is kind of like a serious, like trauma mommy or okay, I fucked it up again. Trauma mama, Chamamamama. Well, Cymbelines are goof zone. You know, it's like you need
Hmm.
Sephiroth and you need the Turks or whatever, because
Yeah.
everyone can't be Sephiroth.
We can't have like five Sephiroths in the same room. It's just gonna not be special anymore.
Oops, all Sephiroths. There's a mix up at the factory. Uh, Next question, sponsored by Chase Sterling. Man, my other patronies are going to be really confused. Tara is giving money to say hi to all the pets. Egon, Philip Mitchell, and McIlvain, spirit of characters inspired by Dice Funk, such as Amanda Starr, Melbeck. You have just heard the Cymbeline arc and the big fight there. First of all, maybe the longest single arc in Dice Funk history that went for like 6 episodes. And if we had, if the cage worked and Skitch was enclosed right now, we might have had another one. So, what an odyssey there. As a listener, because you know you both are a creator, and sometimes you just sit back and things happen. What a marathon! Do you have any thoughts you want to share about as a Cymbeline, how the Cymbeline arc went?
It's an interesting look into what the social dynamics are for the Cymbelines and like the monarchs. Like, because it's like it opens things up to like, okay, it's not just like the Cymbelines. There are also other fairy dragons, and there are also other fae creatures, like all basically fighting each other in like this little bucket of the Feywild that's like just sitting in the middle of the Cookie Mountains.
Yeah, I think at some point everyone just started calling fairy dragons Cymbalines like interchangeably by accident. We all just got that in our heads, and I realized like, oh no, this is I've done like Band-Aid for bandages. You know, I've made it generic. So I was like, there have to be other fairy dragons here, and it's funny if they all hate each other, if they're all pranking each other. Like I said, Seelie and Unseelie Court, like a
Mm-hmm.
rivalry made sense. And I bet if you asked everyone in that chunk of the Feydark or slash Feywild their opinion, Chami Mommy, on everyone else, they all would have been annoyed. Like, it's not just that the Cymbalines are uniquely annoying; they all annoy each other. It's all a
Mm-hmm.
constant, like, low level prank war thing. So I like that. Yeah, the Monarchs wasn't something like I had like, oh, I was just waiting to bust out this whole time. It was just like a little glimpse of how other people feel about the Cymbalines, and everyone's annoyed by them. They're kind of you know, a mirror to the Orlando siblings being siblings, but also just
Yeah.
reflecting the way that for dragons, a lot of little people are just interchangeable. You know, even if like if the Cymbalines all went by common Christian first names or whatever, they wouldn't remember them. It wouldn't be like, there goes Mark, there goes, you know,
Yeah.
Amanda.
I think that also it's interesting to see like this Fey Dark chunk and like the dynamics between all the different Fey because like it kind of flipped the dynamic between like them and like the dragon players on their head for a little bit because like they were small folk and like
Mhm.
the giant mushroom world and they could like get picked up and thrown a half a mile away. Which, well, as a listener, I think one of the most entertaining things about that arc is just how beaten up everyone got by the end there. Like, I was very worried that like someone was gonna die before the end of that, and I'm glad they didn't, but like it was close.
I'm glad the danger came across, because one concern I have with dragon season is dragons are very powerful, and it might just feel like they are like invincible meat walls who fear nothing, which could get monotonous over time. So yeah, a little bit of gimmickry, I would say, there to go to big small world. Where you were small and everything else is big, you know, give the Cymbalines a moment to menace you. But also, I don't want it to
Hmm.
be like cheap in the sense that like, oh, okay, you thought the Cymbalines were like weak and fragile, but actually they're strong now. They're just as strong as you, like all the other dragons. I want to maintain their identity as physically weaker, like going forward. That was just like a fun little cul-de-sac, or you know, a little diversion or whatever. And now they have been exiled from that shard of the Feywild. Also a fun opportunity to establish that if you want to do Feywild stuff in future seasons of Dice Funk, you still can. I blew it up, but you know, They're pieces of it.
Yeah, that's another thing from the listener side of things is that I was interested in the fact that the Feywild still exists in any modicum at all, and I thought it was interesting that this was the Fey Dark specifically. It's hard for me to envision it, but like, because like I keep imagining it in like broad daylight, even though I think it's not. I think it would be lit like Waterfall from Undertale if like I had to like
Back to Toby
concept art it.
Fox. Yeah.
Back to Toby Fox. It's been on my mind for like a month now.
The Fade Arc isn't something I came up with for anyone who doesn't know that. That is a real thing. It's like the Underdark is to the material plane, and yeah, there's a constant. There's a lot of underground stuff in D&D that you kind of just have to hand wave and be like, yeah, there's bioluminescent mushrooms or whatever, so you can see. Or I think I just said for my purposes, like there is illuminating Fey magic that like wafts like breezes through the air or whatever, so you can kind of see stuff. But I wanted to specifically have like the mushroom focus, which felt like more of an underground thing. That's like the Myconids whole thing is they're underground, and I just wanted to establish all the stuff exists, and maybe we could come back to the Feywild if. For a variety of reasons, maybe Ulysses took the Myconids as his small folk. That didn't end up happening, but it was a total possibility. Like, I just try to leave myself like a dozen plot strands, and if you grab them, you grab them. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah, I thought that was a very fun arc. I really liked getting that little peek into the Fade arc. I think that the Myconids were very funny as like a general antagonist with like the hippy dippy we are one you like we are you you are me type bullshit. I really liked how I really liked how fucking mad Rex was by the end of that.
Yeah, it's good to get a genuine reaction out of players. A lot of D&D, I feel like the antagonists are like, we're an evil cult who wants to destroy or take over the world. And it's like, okay, I'll stop you because we're playing a game, but I don't actually have strong feelings about whether you take over this fake world. But as someone who's being fucking annoying, I have very strong feelings that I wish you would stop being so fucking annoying.
For real.
I'm curious about all the possibilities, and this happens every season, that we didn't take. For example, aligning Ulysses with the Myconids, or not antagonizing the Cymbelines. So I will say that that relationship appears to be completely broken. Quinn promised to leave and never come back, and then immediately turned around and took 2 steps out, turned on her heel, stepped right back in. But that wasn't inevitable. I guess next question, sponsored by 666 Neopets 666, Kyle Hill, the Peroni, Emil Argard, Bovbjerg, Steffi K, and I upped my donation so Austin can have a family, and you should too. What do you think about the story possibilities if the Cymbelines and the Orlando siblings are friends? Is there something interesting there to do? Are you still thinking of story possibilities, or does that just feel like, okay, now they're a mechanic where they upgrade your items from time to time, which is how it would have been, but
Yeah. When I first learned that like the items were getting upgraded like after they got returned, like with the amphora and stuff, I like the possibility in my mind space was that like, okay, if they could like mend fences with the Cymbelines, they could be like a silly little like shopkeeper. Like
sure.
like a friendship dynamic with them would be like, okay, what if you had like Nurse Joy from Pokemon, but it was an annoying little freak that was flying around your lair?
Yeah, I mean that's a mommy of medical trauma, but to bring it back, I mean I hadn't thought of that. That's a good point, though. Then I think maybe where that would have went is you and Skitch and whoever else I can bully into being on the show do missions where you steal items to sell to the Orlando siblings. So you're kind of giving them sideways upgrades as opposed to giving me the tools to hit them over the back of the head, which is fun in its own way. But yeah, I'm very satisfied with where we are. I think they're going to be fun antagonists, but that was never inevitable. It did feel kind of that way when I had Marlowe Cymbeline offer the deal, because we knew that Ulysses had run off already and she was going to have to come back. But you can hear in the episode when Dan says, like, Ulysses, run away. I am taken aback by that. Didn't know he was going to say that, and I'm like, oh, now we get to have the chasing after Ulysses section of the show now because he's
Mm-hmm.
just gonna go fucking bananas. He's gonna go absolutely off on his own quest.
Yeah, Ulysses is such an interesting little free agent like side character to have for everyone to have to wrangle at all times.
He has really been way more chaotic than I meant. Like I wanted him to be because all the player characters are young adults and all their other dragons are ancient, basically. And I was like, oh, we don't have a wormling perspective, so it might be fun if they kind of raise a child together and instill their values on it. And honestly, spending more time around kids these days, helping my girlfriend and her family and stuff out, I was thinking Ulysses might end up being sort of antagonistic because kids could be a little monsters sometimes. And I was like, he's going to pick up some murder lessons from Rex at least, but they have been really thoughtful about him and they have saved him and tried their best. I think he's turned out more interesting than he could. Like he could have just been like kind of a one note you know, Damien from The Omen or just like a nice kid or something. And the kind of mix that he has turned out is really psychotic and fun.
I'm really looking forward to seeing him absorb life lessons from the others, like even further, and like maybe find what he likes to hoard. Like by the end of the season, the fact that you almost rolled for it in the the Feydark arc, and then I think Quinn was like, wait a minute, was very interesting.
Yeah, because I don't have anything planned. I'm not taking Ulysses to a specific place. I'm also curious how it's all going to turn out. So when, I think Laura was like, "What if you hoard hats?" And I was like, "I don't know if he hoards hats or not. I can roll for it." And they stopped me, and maybe he'll hoard belts in the future, or shoes. He could be a sneakerhead. That's a thing. But it's
Ulysses with the drip.
yeah, we're only a couple episodes ahead of recording, so I'm not that far in the future. You know basically as much about Ulysses as I do at this point, and anything is possible. But yeah, the lessons they have taught him are like, it's okay to punch a hole through your mom's abdomen if she pisses you off. That's like rule number one. What's number two? I'm trying to think of other lessons they've taught him.
It's it's okay to get meat Twizzlers in exchange for not causing problems.
A robust bribery economy, yeah.
I was also trying to remember what they've imparted on him, and I think the most interesting one so far is Rex really desperately trying to be like, okay, figure out when to pick your battles. And Ulysses is like, battles? Can I pick a battle? Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I literally think like the 3 episodes, and I discussed this, I think, pretty soon in stuff you're going to hear, but the 3 episodes of Ulysses' development, the 3 arcs of his development occurred during the Desdemona one, which ended in terrible violence, the Cymbeline one, which ended in terrible violence, and then the upcoming one, which we'll see. But if he is a kind of nightmare person in some respects, I don't think it should come as a surprise. Hopefully they will have taught him productive use of his violence, but that seems like a clear direction they're headed in. I don't know. I think it's cool. I think we did a lot of stuff there. And the Cymbeline arc wasn't necessarily built for him, but it went in a lot of interesting ways with the mushrooms and at the end of when Dan fucking he always does this stuff, but Quinn was like, okay, what's the prank? And it wasn't a Dan who's just like, let's kill him. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's Ulysses is gonna look you in the eye at some point and say, I'm gonna start killing, and you can't be mad at me. You did this.
Yeah, we'll see where that all leads. There's still so many more substances for Ulysses to spend an entire arc high on.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I mean the mushroom stuff was kind of inevitable because of them, but that was such an offhand joke about him getting drunk at the party. That really came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Next question, sponsored by Dust and Dark Water. A gambling pig has no regrets except most of his 20s. Nephisticidia, the queer sheep job. Poor jobless living in a van, finally free of state service. Aaron Norgard, graffiti. Tsukage's husband. Bones, many S's there. Conduit of snacks. And Kaniku fan. What do you think about the Cymbelines teaming up with Desdemona, which we have not seen on screen yet necessarily? I think a lot. Unfortunately, they are none of them are player characters, so we're not going to get too much of them talking unless you're doing it. But that appears to
Mm-hmm.
be the other side of the Dragon Cold War. Do you have any thoughts about how that dynamic is going to be? I guess we could play it out with you and Skitch in future seasons, but future recordings.
Yeah, it's definitely on the table. I might think about that because up until like we started talking about in this recording, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess by the time we do another recording, Desdemona will probably be back. Like chronologically speaking, like I know that she's like in like uh island like community service purgatory for a bit, but like she's going to be a returning character soon. But yeah, I think it's funny that like Desdemona and the Cymbelines are like the like paired antagonists of the other side of the Dragon Cold War right now because they don't seem like they would be compatible at all. I think that I think that Desdemona my impression of Desdemona is that she is going to put up with them the best that she can, but she is not going to like it unless they are very beneficial to her. Like they're like the bumbling mooks to her like mob boss like energy. Like there's gonna be like a line of them all coming in like, "Hey boss, look what I found!" And it's like a broken toothpick or something, and she's like,
It's funny you mentioned the bumbling energy because their leitmotif in the score of the show is Mr. Saturn's theme from Earthbound. So they do kind of bring a goof energy to everything just in the pure soundscape of the show now when they enter the scene, which is fun. I didn't know, like I actually ended up doing themes for the Myconids as well because they got so much more screen time than I thought. But you know what? It's funny you say that they're not natural allies to Desdemona, and that makes sense. Like at a personality level, she's very like serious social climber, and they are essentially gremlins. But she is a champion of the small folk, and they are the smallest of folk. So I think it might actually work out better than one might think.
that is true. Yeah, I find that Desdemona being like a small folk champion to be a really interesting wrinkle in her character because it kind of uh takes her from like just like a stone cold bad bitch that I'm cheering to get punched in the stomach to still that, but she's obviously done a lot of good in the world for the small folk. Like she is like she I get the impression that like oh they sing songs and legends and praise of like the great like perfect dragon that will like save us from like disaster, and that's fascinating. She's one step away from being like a godlike figure in that respect.
That was pretty intentional. I don't know if I actually used the word worship, but I may have said that at some point. Basically, that people worship her. She is like this resplendent, enormous, ancient figure of heroism to a lot of people. I don't know if this was, intentional or it's like subtext or something, but like there are a lot of people who do good work who are just fucking dickheads. If you're worked in
Mm-hmm.
like nonprofit or something, which my girlfriend does, and I've definitely encountered some people with the best of intentions who I want to dunk through a hoop with all of my might. So I
Yeah.
she definitely is a kind of person that I'm interested in exploring, as opposed to it's not that siblings don't have any beliefs; they're just not particularly deep at this point. But if
Yeah.
if like opening the show, I didn't have any like quote unquote villains in mind. They could have cut a deal with Desdemona. They could have not killed seven Cymbelines, which was absolutely the point of no return. That is, you know what I'm saying? Like that is just
Yeah.
a different era
Like
now.
if the prank war had been like something a little less fatal, I could imagine maybe the Cymbelines could still be like, if not like allies, like at least like like a like a force that can be dealt with without having to make them enemies. But like we've gone past that.
That was 100% on them. That conversation where they decided to kill them is I fully hold up my hands and say that I have no responsibility there. But I like that they committed to the bit. I was a little worried that they would be too nice instead of embracing their draconic nature. So I like that. But there's a version of this where like they get busted breaking into Andronicus's vault and he hates them, and then they cut a deal with Desdemona, which makes Viola hate or like intensify her hatred of DiCaprio, and then Viola and Andronicus are the villains. Like that
Oh
easily could have
yeah,
happened, you know. And then it's like
yeah.
I would be asking you right now, like, what do you think about Viola and Andronicus's dynamic? And like I literally just made that up off the top of my head, like no pre thought. And it's like, oh, Viola is the youngest and Andronicus is the oldest. Now the theme of the season is about like age and respect and people like old people not stepping aside for the next generation. Like you know what I'm saying? Like it just I already think I'm generating.
There's a lot of very interesting combinations because each of the dragons that you've invented, along with like the dragons that the players are playing, you could basically put any two of them into like a grouping and be like, okay, here's a theme that you could pull from that, like the classism angle between like Falconbridge and Viola, or like the age angle that you just mentioned with Andronicus and Viola.
That's what I'm hoping for. And what's coming to me now with the Cymbelines and Desdemona is the Cymbelines have no sense of like private property or personal space. Everything's theirs. And Desdemona hates the Gladys Accords because she thinks I'm the dragon hero of the world. No one should be able to tell me what to do. And like
Mm-hmm.
they share that like it's almost like entitlement and like the reverence for history. If Desdemona is like worshipped by these people, and the Cymbelines are all sick with nostalgia for a previous age of the Fae, I think that all lines up really nicely.
I also think it's interesting, like, just as like a tidbit, that like whether they're antagonists or like allies, like the Cymbeline's role is to like upgrade your items. And what do you do when there's like a quote unquote perfect item? How do you upgrade that?
Mm.
So like, who's to say how they would interact with Desdemona's horde even?
Yeah, yeah. Now I'm really curious. Almost want to like jump ahead to get a Desdemona Cymbeline scene out of y'all. I was thinking if you and I and Sketch had recorded before the scheduling fiasco, that maybe we would just act out the heist of Gladys's loom, just like see that. We might still
Hmm.
do that. I'll ask how you all feel, but also that is a foregone conclusion. We know how that ends, and there isn't as much mystery there necessarily. Where I don't know what Desdemona is going to say to the fairy dragons until we are recording and I open my stupid mouth because stuff just falls out.
Yeah. I think that would be fun to do it as like either like an opener or like a conclusion to like whenever we record next, because I'm also very curious about what will come out of my stupid mouth.
But yeah, that's something we're going to be working on. We're heading to wrap this up, so I will thank our final supporters here: a good Brent, Blue Sky Bitch for Let's Talk About Snacks podcast, Midlife Stasis, Conduit finally changing his Patreon name for the first time since season 5, Bleaker, Ebrand keeping Austin's Lucy tick free. What is my Lucy? I don't want to know. Matt Lackett
Okay.
doesn't have the mental energy to update their Patreon name anymore, but still listens to every episode avidly. And Francois V, a deleted scene and everything everywhere all at once. Thank you all for making the show possible. Sarah, is there anything else you want to leave the audience with? Any teases? Any thoughts? Any who knows when you're going to be back? Any plans? This is your moment, and then we're gonna plug your stuff and wrap it up.
Like I've already teased what I'm thinking about I want to steal next. So keep that in your hearts and minds. Uh with the Dragon Quest like stuff, uh I have been uh, Dan has been not bothering me. Dan's been poking me.
No, say it with your whole chest. Dad's been bothering you. Dad will not leave me alone. He's in my garbage cans at night. He rustling around.
Dan pops up out of my garbage disposal to ask me if I've made basically a fan OC dragon for this season. Because you know that the three dragons we're following probably aren't the only kids that Orlando's had. So I've been percolating on that, and I think it would be fun to include maybe like an allusion or reference to Orlando, like tie him back into Dragon Quest, because like now that we have season 12, in my mind, like my headcanon is like, oh, Orlando and maybe some of the other older dragons are the ones who sent Dragon Quest on like the fetch quest in the first place.
Yeah, that's definitely something to think about, especially because the recent reveal that Orlando used to have a different horde opens up a lot of juicy questions there. I do think it's funny, though. I think I asked Dan, is like, oh, is there anything you want to tease for the future? And you're like, I don't know, maybe Rex has a illegitimate kid. Everyone's thinking about how much dragons fuck. It's
Yeah.
inescapable. Which reminds me, when I asked Joa, my girlfriend, if she wanted to be a Cymbeline on the show, I don't know if she's going to find time, but I was, she listens to the season, and she was like, if I'm a Cymbeline, can I fuck their dad? Like, can we heist their dad's dick? I was like,
Oh
that's
my
gonna
God.
fuck up the family dynamics. If they come home and Orlando is slamming Cymbeline ass, everyone's gonna be so mad.
That would be so funny. Yeah, like
What a villainous thing to do.
if I ever do like develop more on like that like Orlando fan kid, like I imagine that their little cameo is going to be, this is the dragon whose small folk included the kobolds that Gladys was a part of. Like some kind of like inventor or like scientist who like had small folk like studying around the clock on like potions and inventions and alchemy and stuff for whatever the fuck their horde is. So I think that that's a fun idea that I can incorporate to like make the comic more than just a straight up adaptation of the original podcast.
There's a lot of stuff to flesh out there around all the characters in it. And now I feel less bad about my Joe Biden squid after all of the things he did after that point in real life. In fact, I think it makes the whole thing look very classy. I don't.
Yeah.
Should I,
Also, if I could talk about the transcript one more time, fuck you about the fucking goddamn Joe Biden thing. That's so hard to transcribe.
Sorry. I feel like you just put brackets Joe Biden noises, close brackets, it doesn't really matter the specifics. I didn't even know what I was saying half the time.
It's like, because you have to like write that out into like a comic to like, because like even though it's like rambling bullshit nonsense, that's part of his character now.
Yeah.
And so I have to make up more of that.
I'm sorry. I didn't think about the adaptational difficulties. I feel like I should cut out the part where I talked about Joe's plan, because it would be such a good twist to reveal that Orlando is cheating on Rosaline with the Cymbeline.
That would be so fucking funny.
So full soap opera, Just commit to the fucking bit.
Just you open up like the door to Orlando's cave and like one of the Cymbelines just pops up and it's like soap opera close up.
And so at the end, instead of there being like the huge climactic showdown with the villains, giving a big speech about free will and fate and destiny or whatever, oops all Sephiroths, instead it's just like the three siblings kick open the door and they're like, Cymbeline, you fucked my dad, now you die.
Cymbeline, did you fuck my dad?
Most beloved antagonist in Dice Fuck history, hands down. Cassius who? Get the fuck out of here. Cassius didn't fuck a single player character's dad.
I don't know if you'll cut that out or not, but I guess we'll end it with like Like that's all the teaser that I have about like my plans for the future. I guess is it like on the record yet that I'm gonna be like in the bonus like season 13 recording stuff, or can I like mention that briefly?
I don't know what's on the record anymore. I can't keep track, but the current plan is for
Mm-hmm.
you to be a player on my side of season 13. Currently planned to be like the backer tier bonus campaign to Dan's pumpkin. I don't know, primary campaign. The terminology, like, I don't have a brand manager, you know. I don't have an
Mm-hmm.
IP director who's getting all this stuff straight. I'm just some fucking guy.
But yeah, I'll just say that like I have a character sheet ready, like prepared for that so far. I'm excited about it, and that will hopefully be a fun experiment into like you should go listen to that like it like when it like happens, because I want people to talk about my silly little guy. They're not silly. They're gravely serious.
I feel like if I hadn't named the show Dice Folk, Silly Little Guys is a strong second one because that's really at the core of what this is
Hmm.
all about. That'll be the spinoff.
Yeah. But yeah, with that said, like I said, Patreon is a great way to support me at Cosmignon. That's COSMIGNON. I also have a coffee that I'm trying to give. Like recently, I've like reformatted my coffee to also have memberships. So if you don't want to support me on Patreon, you can do it on coffee and get about the same things. Like I have a sticker club that I'm trying to do every month. I've been designing like cute little dragons and shit. The one that's like this month right now that you can get is like a little papa dragon, like holding like a wet baby bird looking ass dragon in his little beak. I think it's very cute if you want to check that out. There's uh commissions. I do commissions if you ever want to like just message me over like any of my social medias, like you can get that set up. My store is called cosmignon.square.site. If you're looking for any Dice Funk stuff, I've got a couple of like sticker sheets and magnets still up there, and hopefully I'll make some more stuff for that soon. I'm thinking about making buttons of like the dragons for this season soon. And read my comic Runaway Dracaina if you want more dragons.
Reaching out to catch the sun, to hold it